Welcome to the Lowland Catchup. It's myself and I'm joined by Derek. How you doing, Derek?
I'm good, mate. How's you?
So obviously Champions League yesterday, a bit disappointed, but we'll get there. And Shaun, how are you doing?
I'm not too bad, mate. I'm not too bad.
Good. Did you watch the game last night? The big game? The Champions League final?
I fell asleep. I genuinely fell asleep during it. I had to get woken up.
I started watching it and got bored.
Yeah, it was an awful game of football. Probably one of the biggest football games for me, obviously being a Spurs fan. I think people know that, but it was just the penalty. I wasn't even bothered with the penalty. You know, my emotions were a bit high. Like before the game, I got sent a thing with the Tottenham team relaxed or whatever. This is what you should be like the night. Because I'm not relaxed during big games. But I generally wish I went out because there was nothing to cheer about or anything. I didn't even raise my voice yesterday. It was just a terrible game of football. I think I said obviously on the Catchup Twitter, obviously I've seen better games in the Lowland League this season. It was awful.
It's funnily enough that when I went on my Twitter, the first 3 tweets I saw were all about how the King Cup was a better final than the Champions League. So there you go. Says everything.
Yeah, I saw Kev's post on that. Said he saw 2 games and one of them was spectacular and the other one was a Champions League final.
I said to Kev, I was like, I would have went with him, but obviously the Champions League final, and I wish I went with him, to be honest. It wasn't a good game, but you know, in fairness, I think Tottenham didn't turn up. Liverpool, well, penalty aside, if it was, I didn't think it was, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a Tottenham fan. It went off his chest onto his hand, but that's the new rule or whatever. If it hits your hand, it's a penalty. But yeah, it was just a shocking game of football, really was. But we'll move on. We've got news. Obviously, we're recording this quite late Sunday. We'll start by congratulating Auchinleck Talbot for wrapping up their 13th Junior Cup success with a 2-0 victory over Largs Thistle. Craig McCracken got them off to a flyer in 3 minutes and Keir Sampson scored before half time. Obviously, we want to congratulate Auchinleck for their Junior Cup success there.
Yeah, and again, it looks like they had a decent crowd in at Hamilton, so Junior Cup is always a cracking event when it gets to the final, and Talbot reign supreme again. They're probably the strongest name just now, aren't they?
And obviously they've done quite well in the Scottish Cup, as we know, this season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good for non-league football. We're obviously not really associated too much with the juniors, but certainly we're all non-league. I think we've mentioned before, Mozza, when people try and compare what's better, the Western juniors to the Lowland League or whatever. But yeah, we wish them great success. As you say, it's a spectacle. Our friend Adam, the football nomad, was there, I noticed. So it looks like it would have been another enjoyable game. So we'll move on to one of our own games. Obviously, you were there, Shaun. It was East Kilbride versus Bonnyrigg Rose in the South Challenge Cup final at Megaland. Do you want to take us through the game, Shaun?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you say, it was East Kilbride against Bonnyrigg Rose in South Challenge Cup final. It was a pretty quiet first half, but I found it to be quite entertaining despite the lack of goals and at points the lack of chances. Both keepers, I think, played really well. Both made some really good saves in the first half, and then, well, to be honest, in those first 70-75 minutes as well, although there weren't chances, there was a few standout performances. Shaun Winter had a few chances playing down the wing. For Bonnyrigg, the Ross Gray, he played outstanding, and there was a few. It's definitely a Bonnyrigg crowd that were at the game, and there was a bit of disappointment when he got taken off towards the end of the game. And again, Dean Brett had a really good game at the back for Bonnyrigg, but it did take until the 75th minute for the scoring to open, and to be honest, from 75th minute on, it was quite an entertaining game. There was obviously 3 goals in there, and there was also some drama at the end as well, so it kind of kicked off with a 75th minute goal from BJ Cole, who was the quickest to react after a free kick. From distance, it rattled off the crossbar. Defender then headed it home to give the Lowland champions the advantage. Didn't last long though, as Bonnyrigg came flying back, and after 80 minutes it was Lee Curry. Really good free kick that he managed to curl in to bring it back to 1-1. 3 minutes later was BJ Cole again fired home with second of the game with just over 5 minutes remaining. That was it as far as goals. It was East Kilbride that went off 2-1 winners. After that second goal though, Bonnyrigg didn't give up, and they were still pushing for that extra goal. It got a little bit heated towards the end, and there was a couple of red cards as Lee Curry and Dean Brett both red carded for what just seemed to be dissent. Apparently it's a referee that's got a bit of reputation for not liking to get questioned very much. Although I'm not sure how much Dean Brett would have been questioning him. He was quite up in his face, to be honest, before he got sent off a bit heated in those last sort of 15-20 minutes. But overall, it was a really good game to watch. Despite the fact that they're separated by an entire league, the two sides, they were very evenly matched, and they both had their chances. Both put on a show for the fans, despite the lack of goals in that first 75 minutes. But no, it was a really good game to be at. Thoroughly enjoyed myself.
Bit of a ding-dong battle between two teams that probably don't have as much difference between them as the league tables would suggest. We'll obviously get into Bonnyrigg later on in this podcast, no doubt, but in terms of the Lowland. But if you put them in the Lowland this year, you'd expect them to be top half.
Yep.
So, yeah, they've had a cracking season themselves. Their little Achilles heel from what we've seen in the cup competitions does tend to be when they're chasing a game at the end of it, and red cards tend to start flying. But otherwise, sounds like great entertainment if the fans were able to kind of last through to the final 10-15. And well done to Kilby, because obviously they were a bit down on themselves after the Cove Rangers playoff game, and Stuart Malcolm didn't know if he was still going to be in the job. There was just a wee bit of an atmosphere of kind of sadness, I guess, around the camp, but they've managed to dispel that, bounce back. Mal's been kept on. That's the other thing to note. So they're going into next season on a high rather than a low as a result of this cup win, and that could be vital, especially with everything that's going on just now and over the summer.
Absolutely. Obviously the Lowland League champions versus the East of Scotland champions. Agree, it's a positive end to the campaign, after missing out on the SPFL. 10th trophy in the last 6 seasons. Obviously Kilby a team that's used to winning, but in fairness Bonnyrigg never made it easy for them. Bonnyrigg, under no illusions here, Bonnyrigg are going to be a big topic in this podcast. We could probably call it the Bonnyrigg Rose podcast. Just behind the scenes we are going to cover the top 6 teams, review them a wee bit as well, just in case people are not wanting to listen to Bonnyrigg all day. We'll get into the King's Cup game, which featured who did it? Oh yeah, Bonnyrigg versus Tranent Juniors. It was at Preston Field, obviously Lithgow. Similar, I think, to the East Kilbride game, half-time, 0-0. Even game. The Ingalls, the Tranent keeper, was the busier of the two keepers, but the Big T had a couple of decent opportunities off their own. Dean Brett closest to breaking the deadlock. It was a goal just into the second half. It was a cross into the box, and Kerr Young headers it in for Rose. Tranent equalised through a headed goal from a corner by Dean Whitson on the 75th minute. It went to extra time. Another tough game. We'll obviously talk about Bonnyrigg, but I think you mentioned it last week, obviously, Shaun, as well, the fact that these guys must be absolutely shattered. We'll go into the stats in a wee bit, obviously, but into extra time, Tranent take the lead at the beginning of extra time through Bradley Barrett to make it 2-1. I did get the information from the Twitter, but it sounded like Brendan had a bit of a tough one to follow, like the Kelty Shire game that I had. It was all kicking off. So there was a penalty. The penalty was saved, and they had a sending off. Tough one to follow in his own words. Young saves a penalty from Tranent. Ball goes up the pitch. Tranent player follows through on Young and is sent off. Still 2-1 Tranent, but that was the 103rd minute. Red card. Totally lost now, he says. Moy shown a straight red for a challenge. Both teams now down to 10 on the 105th minute. Bonnyrigg did have a chance to equalise. Gray this time. It cracks one off the upright. It was still 2-1, a lot going on. This was 108th minute, so it was all in the space of like the last sort of few minutes. There was another penalty. It was saved again. The referee awarded it to Tranent, but Young saved again on the 113th. It was full time. Tranent Juniors 2-1 over Bonnyrigg Athletic. The Big T are King Cup champions. We obviously want to congratulate Tranent Juniors. It's not a team I really know too much about. I know obviously Jamie Devlin. I actually could probably tell a funny story about him, but I'm not going to. So I'll save him the embarrassment. But yeah, he's the only guy I've really had an interaction with at Tranent. Obviously, we know some of the guys. We've spoken to some of the guys in East of Scotland. But yeah, good victory. But you've got a kind of feel for Bonnyrigg in a sense. Obviously, with the tiredness, they put the stats up for their season: 199 goals, 50 games, 4 cup semi-finals, 2 cup finals, 1 East of Scotland league title, and 1 set of floodlights, which we obviously will get into. Probably just after this. Is there any sort of comments you want to make on the game there?
Just well done at Tranent, because I think most people naively were basically saying Rose were going to finish with a trophy. Although now that you've kind of run through those stats, a lot of people are pointing to last year with Lothian Thistle, Hutchie Vale, and the amount of games they played, and they petered out and Kelty just nabbed it at the end, the East of Scotland League. But that's more. Rose have actually played more games this year than even Lothian Thistle Hutchie played last year. So that gives you an idea of just how shattered they must have been, just petering out at the end. Fingers crossed for them, their efforts haven't been in vain and they'll be rewarded for it. We'll get into that. But you can't really argue with the stats there. 4 cup semis. They've not ended up taking any of the cup finals they've been in, but a hell of an effort. Well done to them all. I've been really impressed when I've seen them the couple of times I have done this year, and yeah, if they can keep the same core of that squad together, who knows what they could go on to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously between the Tranent and East Kilbride games, they obviously played that semi-final, so against Linlithgow in the middle of the week as well. So they had over the stretches 6 days, 3 games, and 2 of them were cup finals. So it's not really games where you're going to be able to rest players, so they've done tremendously well, and I think it's disappointing to get a couple of cup finals and not go with silverware, but I think their main goal was to win that East of Scotland League, which was always going to be a tough one, and next season it's going to be tough again. Hopefully, like you say, Mozza, they get rewarded, but I think that was their main goal for this season, was to win that East of Scotland, which they've done, and eventually get promoted into the Lowland League, which we're obviously still waiting on. But yeah, tremendous effort, and yeah, like you say with Lothian last year, they had a similar situation where they had a lot of games towards the end, but they've done really well for themselves.
So moving on to Bonnyrigg Rose, I know we've not talked about them a lot lately. So yeah, situation Bonnyrigg Rose, they've got their floodlights, they were installing them now. I got sent a picture, I stole their thunder a wee bit. But no, it was obviously just a bit of banter between myself and them. I'll let you start, Mozza. What do you know? What can you tell us?
Well, what I will say before I get into this is obviously you need to take this with the pinch of salt. It's not confirmed. So I've just been given an inkling from somebody a bit more in the know myself about what's going on just now. What I've been told is the SFA have basically succumbed to a bit of pressure that's been put on them over the whole licensing situation. So I don't need to get into what we've said in depth already. People already know our thoughts. They've been out there on Twitter and on the podcast. But basically, it sounds like the straw that's broken the camel's back is that the Scottish Government actually got in touch with them as well, after enough people had petitioned the government to put a follow-up question in to find out what the story was. And the government have actually confirmed they've done so as well. So what we have been told now is there's going to be a meeting this coming week of the SFA's committee again, and that will have the power to change their decision on Bonnyrigg Rose, assuming the floodlights are on. So that's the kind of, they can still save face and say, oh, now they've got floodlights, we can change our decision. But at the same time, this wouldn't have happened without all the pressure and the support that's been out there from not just Rose fans of all clubs and colours. So I think it's a testament to the way that Scottish football fans in general have risen up and had a go, to be honest, and should take great credit for that, because it shows that ultimately the fans have still got a degree of power. And we can vote with our feet, we can vote with our voices, and if you put enough pressure on, they're going to have to do something about it. So we'll wait and see what happens with it. But basically, the inkling I've been given is that Whitehill Welfare have been told to get preparing for the East of Scotland League, the Premier League, next season. And that's ultimately what they're looking to do now. And I put a wee tweet out saying, like, a lot of the focus has been on Rose. I think it's important that people give credit to Welfare for how they've dealt with this over the past month or so. They've been really dignified about it. They've not had anything to do with the situation they're in. It must be really frustrating for them as a club, not knowing how to prepare, what league to prepare for. They're trying to bring in guys, and they've actually done quite well with that. They've started building their squad, but imagine trying to bring in a player and sell your vision and say, oh, we don't know what league we're going to be in. Must be a really difficult thing to do. So I admire them for biting their tongue this whole way through it, and I think we need to give them a fair amount of credit for that, and that will be coming. But my expectation is this time next week we'll be talking about Rose getting confirmed to move up to the Lowland League next year.
We've already spoke about if Whitehill drop down into that East of Scotland Premier League, how tough it's going to be. So, they do need to prepare for that, and this obviously won't have helped them. And like you say, for them to have been able to stand back and not grumble too much whilst this has all been going on, with a certain level of dignity, like you say, I think they've done tremendously well, and hopefully they can get an answer sooner rather than later. It's been dragged out for far too long, obviously, so that they can start preparing Ask and Bonnyrigg, dependent, because they're both in the same, they're both not in the know for what's happening. I think the situation with the floodlights, I think it's only going to be a good thing down the line for all teams in the Lowland and above to have floodlights. I don't think it's necessarily a wrong decision, especially with the number of games that go on. I just think the way it's been handled and the time frames that have been put on these, and the fact that there's currently teams playing in the Lowland that don't, I think it's been handled really poorly. But fingers crossed we see the end of this until the next farce happens. Hopefully it'll be the end of this one by the end of next week, like you say though, Mozza.
And I think that's what's united everyone. The fact that I don't think the idea behind it was a bad idea, but the execution, as always, it seems with the SFA, has been blinkered. They've not thought it through at all. They've just gone ahead and done it. Assumed, it's non-league. Folk will just get on board, and it hasn't happened. So I think it's an important thing that side as well, that they're now going to have to actually put a bit of thought behind what they're doing, because they now know the fuss that can get kicked up if they do things just dismissively. So hopefully it'll lead to better things down the line.
Yeah, they've been held to account a bit more than they have been in the past, which is good.
Yeah,
I've actually spoken to both teams over the last few days, so I'm going to plead ignorance. But no, I was updating the Whitehill Welfare's Wikipedia, so that's all updated. But yeah, there might be a thing to change in the next week or so.
Yeah.
There. So, but yeah, Rose, it's really about fairness for me. I think the SFA we've talked about. We don't have to go into too much detail, but exactly what you guys are on, absolute on point. Accountability for making a farcical decision, I think. And you're absolutely spot on, Mozza, the fact that it's about time. I think getting the politicians, the MPs or the SMPs rather involved. I think everyone needs to be held accountable. It's like I've said it before, but if we say something, someone disagrees. I'd rather folk didn't take the huff or whatever they actually say. All right, okay, why do you think that or whatever? So it's about being held accountable, I think, and I think we'll get a positive outcome from what I've heard. So, but yeah. So on to our next thing, Bonnyrigg Rose. I'm kidding. Yeah, literally half this podcast could be about Bonnyrigg Rose. But we're moving on to our top 6 of the SPFL review. We're going to be doing one for the sort of the bottom of the table, if you will. I think next week, but we'll start with East Kilbride Obviously, League and Cup double, 23 wins out of 28, conceded 12 goals, which is fantastic. Craig Malcolm, the top scorer, with 23 goals. They had the longest winning run in the league, 14 matches. You said it, you mentioned it earlier, Derek, but Malks is staying, which is fantastic news. On the signing front, Darren O'Dea, one of the yeah, that's a quality signing. David Brownlee, Ewan McPherson coming in. Obviously, they're some of the old guard are leaving. Guys like Barry Russell, Jamie Longworth, Ross McNeil, who I think is brilliant. I think he'll get another team.
Yeah.
And obviously, we know that Chris Humphrey's going to be manager. I don't know if he's going to be player manager at Gretna. EK have had a fantastic season. Absolute. What they've done in league, they've impressed me every time I've seen them. They could be a league team, but they were up against a fantastic Cove side, which you guys saw. I'm glad Stuart Malcolm's staying. I actually messaged him, I think either the day or the day after, saying, I'm glad. I think he's done a fantastic job. There was no faults in their season, I don't think. Every time I saw them, I think they played well. I mean, Malks came in, Obviously, Brian Kerr left to be the number 2 at Partick with Gary Caldwell. It was a difficult one for Malks because obviously he's been with Brian during his sort of coaching career, but he stayed on as manager. He lost, I think, his first game against Civil Service. They weren't top, in the first half of the season. About Christmas time, I think Kelty were at top. So he's done a fantastic job, and I'm so glad he's staying on because I was. Yeah, a wee bit. I think we both thought he was going, to be honest, Derek, when we talked about it. So, fantastic. Anything to add to that, guys?
I think you've kind of covered everything, to be honest. I did fear that he might not be staying on just because there was a bit of radio silence there, but I'm delighted he has been kept on. Because I think he's probably the best manager of the season under the radar, because he came into a really difficult situation that he wasn't ready for. He thought he was going to be the assistant manager. Brian Kerr up sticks and left very early doors. He suddenly dropped into a managerial situation where initially East Kilbride were saying, we're interviewing, we're doing this, we're doing that. So he never thought he was going to get the job. He essentially ended up getting a job by default. But he's just made the best of it. And that consistency when they win the 14-match winning run is ultimately what won the league. So, brilliant gaffer. Really down to earth guy as well, always willing to give time to kind of chat things through, and I think the signings that they've made already are a declaration of intent that they intend to go ahead, win this league again and get promoted this time next year.
Obviously when I was at that cup game there, now say it was say their name again, but Bonnyrigg crowd, but you could still hear Stuart Malcolm, he was one of the loudest people in the stadium just pushing his team on, so I echo those thoughts that it's brilliant that he's going to be back next year. It'll be interesting to see Kilbride next year as well, because I think they're going to be a bit of a different team. They're making a few changes, like you say. Dan O'Dea coming in it's a fantastic signing for this level. We've seen a few of them already. A few of the old guard going out. Jamie Longworth, he was towards the end of the game last weekend there. He was tremendous, and you could just see that. Still had a lot of fight in him. I think the team's going to look very different, and I think the Lowland League's going to look different next year. So I think they have made some changes to show intent, but they've had a brilliant season. It's going to be a tough one to repeat next year, but looking forward to seeing it.
Kyle, laugh at you guys. Is he coming to EK? Shaun Winter's rumour there. I'm not sure if we'll get him on board. We'll see how that pans out.
I think he's coming over after Joe Cardle signs for Kelty.
Shaun Scoop Winter.
That's been talked about for years. I think even when they were in the east of Scotland, Joe Cargill was going to Kelty. Next team, obviously second. Do you want to talk through them? BSC, your team, Mozza?
Yeah, a brilliant season, all things told, to be honest. We spoke quite a few times early on in the season about the injury crisis that was going on. There was so many first teamers out crocked, but you're talking about 6 guaranteed starters early on in the campaign, and there was a lot of points getting dropped because of that, but generally it was draws. There weren't many losses in there. So Swifty held everything together, made the changes he had to make, and as soon as the likes of Tam Orr came back, Martin Green came back, all the, like, Marshall was out, keeper was out, so Ross Sinclair came in on loan, Marshall returned. I went on a 19-match undefeated run, which at our level of football, when you're playing 28 league games, is sensational at the best of times. But with injuries that were there and then began to kind of mellow away, it's just a fantastic achievement. League top scorers overall, so playing a decent brand of football as well, and finished off in a high with the Lowland League Cup, which we obviously we were at, and was a cracking game of football as well. Thomas Collins was an interesting one, because we're talking about new signings. He essentially is a new signing. He came in for the last few weeks of the campaign there, and he's looked very, very impressive. So I think he'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on next year. I think we're going to have to wait and see on BSC's business. They don't tend to do things very early. They tend to bide their time and kind of do their homework. Swifty's obviously a guy who likes to run the rule over people, and they've got plenty of good contacts there, like some Michael Moore and so on involved. So we'll wait and see what happens there, but to retain second spot, they're going to have to strengthen, absolutely. And I'm kind of sitting here quietly hoping that we will see a couple of signings come in, but maybe not the kind of overly experienced, shall we say, type, because I think a couple of young guns coming in could be, well, a different way of approaching it, get a bit more energy through the side, and there's going to be a lot of old school experienced players in this league next year. There might be an avenue for a team that's got a lot of potential as well as ability to come through and shock people.
Fantastic with bringing guys in on loan this season, especially with all the injuries and stuff. Obviously that horror injury to Adam Strachan, one of their better players obviously against Whitehill really early into the season. But I suspect they might look at juniors, some of the junior players as well, just going by the Thomas Collins signing. I just think they might look at the juniors, because realistically, I know they're based in Alloa, but they are a team pretty much from the west, really.
Yeah, and it's something that they've done before as well. Swifties came for the juniors, bear in mind, so they've done it successfully in the past. It wouldn't surprise me to see one or two come in that way, and I would expect a couple of really talented young loanees to come in from, be it St Johnstone or be it other clubs up there. The fact that we brought in guys on loan and they've developed well will put us in great position to get more talented guys on loan next season.
The fact, and you've just said it there, but the fact they've done well as well, in the team and in the league is a compliment to the guys at BSC and Swifty and Michael and that. I'll let you cover Kelty, Shaun, and have you got anything to add to BSC?
Only on the BSC point, I'd agree that it has been quite quiet, which perhaps would back up the idea that they're maybe waiting to for some of the teams, St Johnstone and Albeit, to get finished up with their business of signing players, and then we might see some of those players come into play in the Lowland League to gain some experience alongside some, like you say, experience in some of the other teams, wee bit of experience in BSC. But they have been really quiet, especially amongst the teams at the top of the league, because we've seen loads for Kilbride, Kelty, Shire, even a wee bit for Spartans, and BSC have been really quiet. So it would sort of tend to suggest that we perhaps will see a bit of movement in that area later on when other teams are sort of finished up with what they're doing. And yeah, I think, credit where credit's due, the 19 games unbeaten was tremendous, and were the winners of the cup there at the end of the season as well, and it's good to see them come away with a bit of silverware. But yeah, been a really good season for those guys. I can run through Kelty if you like. So it was their first season in the Lowland League. There was a lot of attention on Kelty this season, just because of everything that was going on, from Barry Ferguson coming in sort of midway through the season, to the fact that they did come in, they had such a huge impact in the East of Scotland last year. I think third place is a very respectable finish for Kelty, especially when you do look at the teams above them, BSC and East Kilbride, and how well they did. But even, Spartan, Strolley, Shire below them, that they had tremendous seasons as well. I think Kelty will be very happy with the finish. There's no point in going over all the signings again, because we spoke a wee bit at length about that on our last pod. But obviously they've got Ben McKenzie in now, the goalkeeper from Airdrieonians, which that's going to be really good for him, and I think it's going to be good for the side as well, because they're getting, it's only a young guy, but it's still another high profile team that he's coming from, that's going to be coming and playing in the Lowland League next year. So yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of talk with Kelty about where they were in the middle of the season versus where they finished up, but yeah, third place, I think they'll be happy with that season, and it's looking promising again. I think they're in a similar boat to East Kilbride. There'll be a lot of change with them next season. They've shown a bit of intent, but they can't take this league for granted next year, so they'll be an exciting team to watch as well.
Yeah, the big thing with Kelty, I think, me and you spoke about it early, well, both of you spoke about early doors, but obviously Tam Courts resigning. He had a brand of football there that was fantastic to watch. Really enjoyed it. Barry came in, and I don't think we really saw the change of style right away, but obviously it's changed a lot now. But I said really early into the pod, I didn't think Tam Courts' style of football would sort of suit league football. I think it's very hard to play that sort of really good style of football in League 2 and stuff, but it was a bit of a shocker. Obviously we spoke to Ian Thompson, the chairman, Moza, and he was still shocked at the resignation. He didn't know how to take it.
Yeah.
Barry Ferguson, obviously a massive name. We've talked about it loads, but there was a lot of ins and outs. Obviously, Kyle Wilson, I think, was at the club for about a month. Jamie Devlin, I think Jamie Devlin had travel issues and stuff, so he went back. But we've talked about the signings. They're obviously fantastic signings for this level. Murray Carstairs, obviously big name for Kelty. Obviously, he talked about it in his interview, but I think although Ferd was great, I think they were a wee bit disappointed having been top at Christmas. Not to sort of push forward, but again, a lot of changes. Barry was still trying to find his team there, basically, and obviously had EK and BSC going on, undefeated runs and winning runs and stuff. So it was always going to be difficult. Kelty, for me, I think it's going to be interesting next season, certainly. But in terms of what they've brought to the league, obviously the highest attendance. David Severs, who does the attendances, released them for the Lowland League, I think yesterday. But yeah, it's been brilliant to be a part of Kelty. Obviously, I've been working with them for like half the season or whatever. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. But certainly they should be up there with the team that Barry, the guys that Barry's brought in, and is certainly working with a few of them before as well. But as for the season, yeah, agree, Shaun. Top 4 was their aim. They're probably a wee bit disappointed, like what Murray said. They're losing a lot of their old guard, moving on. Guys like Shaun Gregg, who have been there for years. Scott Dial's obviously moving on as well. So, another interesting one. Got anything to add to that, Derek?
No, really. Just the fact that I was going to bring up when we spoke to Ian, because he was very kind of clear in his ambitions for the club. And he always said that this year was get into the Lowland League and get a settled year. And the coming season was the go for the trophy and go for promotion. Yeah. And he's been very true to his word, put it that way, with the ambition are shown with the signings. So it'll be very, very interesting to see how that all shakes out. Obviously, the players will need to get bedded in and get settled and get to know each other. They'll also need to get used to Barry's style of play. You mentioned that took the initial, the existing squad, I should say, a wee bit of time to get used to. So I'm very, very intrigued to see how that all plays out.
Absolutely. Spartans, they had a great start to the season. They obviously were in the Betfred Cup. Good performances in the Betfred Cup. I think the best performance came in the 2-2 draw with St Mirren. They obviously lost out on penalties, but I think with Spartans early on, obviously Dougie Samuel was still recovering from his heart attack.
Yeah,
I think they missed him. A big guy like Dougie, a big a manager who's I think I've mentioned it before, but I think he's the most tactical minded manager in the league. From what I've seen anyway, as Spartans, I think they're brilliant. They did drop points early on to like the uni teams, but they did manage top 4 towards the end of the season. They did go on a bit of a decent run. They didn't make too many changes during the season. I think the only player they brought in was Aaron Scott, who's done fantastically well, a guy I rate as well. They relied a wee bit on their under-20s, guys like Murray Hand coming in, Cameron Dawson, Nicky Reid, who we've talked about, the 16-year-old, and he's fantastic. He's probably the smallest player in the league, but he's a bit of a mini Scottish Messi, I think. Spartans, for me, can go one or two ways. We'll probably talk about it when we get into Shire, obviously. But there was a player that moved, but I'll leave that till Shire, which kind of, I don't know. I wasn't expecting it, certainly, but it was a dodgy one because I didn't think other Lowland League teams could probably pry away some of the Spartans players. Considering I thought they might be back up there next season, but that was a shocker. Any thoughts?
I was surprised because it was Dishington and he's been at Spartans for such a long time, but I think the Spartans are a team that I think they very much still view themselves as a developmental sort of community club. They perform really well. I think they're right to rely on some of their under-20s this season because their under-20s have been fantastic, but I think for people like Jamie Dishington to move on, he will need to go to somewhere like Shire. They're one of the teams that you don't hear talking about their ambition to go up to League 2 as much as some of the other teams, which is why I think they're not content with finishing further down the table. They always want to be competitive, but they're definitely a team that focus on everything for their under-20s to their youth teams to their women's football. Not that other clubs don't, but I think they're very much about that sort of community side of things, and they're always going to want to bring new players through. Similar to what we spoke about earlier with BSC, how we think they'll bring in some young guys, where you've got East Kilbride and Kelty bringing in a lot of experience. I think Spartans are a team that are always going to be looking to bring in a bit of youth and develop players, so I wasn't too surprised to see some of their players going out, to be honest, but I was definitely surprised it was Dishington. You kind of saw him being at Spartans for a long time, I think.
I think the interesting one for me with Spartans is they maybe never made a lot of signings compared to likes of EK, BSC and Kelty, but what they did, who they did bring in, Aaron Scott, Stephen McDonald, they done their job, and that's smart. I think they have to get credit there because they didn't change a lot last season. Fair enough, they probably did drop down. I mean, Jack Smith being injured, I think maybe affected them, but for the few players that they brought in compared to other sides, the boys done a job, and obviously the under-20s just fantastic.
To be honest with you, I expect Spartans to take a step forward next year. I think Dougie being away at the very start of this season was like, I had a massive impact on them. They weren't at the races the way they would be normally, and when you're missing for that whole part of the early stage of the season, which is so important for getting the squad cohesive, for getting tactics on, like you could see the glimpses later on as time went that they were suddenly in a place where they knew exactly what they were doing. And a manager like Dougie that will switch things up and they'll do certain things tactically against certain opponents and try and take advantage of the way they play football. Obviously, him not being there, that presence not being there, had a major impact on them. I don't think they're going to miss Jamie as much as some people do, I'll be honest, because it didn't surprise me he was going to Shire. Shire's a team that they've been very bold recently saying, look, we've got a wee bit more investment coming in, we're pushing for this promotion again. That's an exciting thing. So that's a club that's been there up in that level. They've suddenly got a wee bit of support in terms of monetary support. They're beginning to make a couple of interesting signings, and the way they play football, the way that Dell and Andy have got them going, and we'll get into it a bit more when we get to them, is interesting and it's exciting. So the Spartans will do what they do. They'll find replacements, be it from the youth team coming through. They've just won the cup final there, so there's plenty of talent in the under-20s. They're also good at getting under the radar ex-SPFL players in there. They're due, like last season when they signed Jack Smith was a bit of a surprise. They're due another one of those just under the radar signings, I think, that'll be very, very effective. And yeah, I reckon they'll be at the very least fourth next year, if not higher. Assuming they keep that core of the squad together.
Obviously, the Football Nations Cup, they won that as well. So firstly, let's say RIP the Jamie Dishington fancast.
Eric. You'll be down at the Falkirk Stadium a wee bit more next year, will you?
Strollers, I think they had a better than expected season in the end. Gary Jardins came in, done a really good job, and they've had some really good standout players. They've had Church in there, Andy Mayer. I think, just as a core group of players, they've had some really good guys. It was a shame that they tailed off a little bit towards the end of the season. They lost a couple of sort of must-win games to hold on to that fourth spot when Spartans pipped them at the end. They're another team that have been a wee bit quiet since the season ended. Hopefully the majority of them are sitting taking a bit of a break, and we should start to see a wee bit more noise coming out of Strollers over the next couple of weeks, hopefully.
From the video that they released, obviously they've kept the core of their players. I think this season guys like David Churchy's done fantastic. Andy Mayer, who is well known to this league, but he's been great. Craig Newells, there's a few of them. Jordan Hopkinson, I don't think he was in the video. I might be wrong, but I don't think he's staying. But certainly he would be a decent capture for another Lowland League team if he is available. But yeah, great season under Gary Jardine. He's done fantastic work. Especially with Kyle Fee at the back. I'm only kidding. I'm only joking to Kyle there, not to be harsh. I think, all in all, I think Strollers have had a fantastic season. Churchy was quite right to get on at me for not having any of the boys in my team of the season, but it was difficult. It was a difficult one, obviously. But I think if you actually look at the league table, obviously we're not going to mention Colts, but I would have probably had a Cumbernauld Colts over the Strollers. I probably would have had maybe Shire over the Strollers, maybe Gala and stuff like that. But that speaks volumes of what the manager's done there, and we talk about what the players have done there as well. Obviously, I'm winding up Kyle Fee a wee bit there, but all the boys have been fantastic, and they've kept the core for next season. Minus a couple of guys. I think there was a few guys retired. I think Kyle Rankin was one of them that I remember. But yeah, I think they can push. I really do. It's going to be very, very difficult next season for them, compared to what other top teams are doing. But they've got a really good manager, and they've got players there that have a lot of heart. Guys like Churchy, we know that. We know he's got a lot of heart and a lot of determination. Kerr Allen, I'm not sure what's happening with him. I think he's staying next season, but he's another guy that's they show a bit of bravery and a bit of heart, and sometimes that's what you need to win football games, and we've certainly seen it from Strollers this season.
Yeah, I think Strollers' most important re-signing this summer is Gary Jardine, and that takes nothing away from the players, but the job that he's done has been fantastic. Moulding that squad into, again, it's another unit. They know exactly what they're doing. They know what their jobs are. They go out and they execute it, and that's what you need at this level ultimately. So yeah, Gary staying there must have been a massive boost for them. I've no doubt they'll be interested in him though as time goes on, and potentially a SPFL club might come calling eventually for him. But yeah, it's interesting that you've just mentioned about Hoppy there. I've not seen him confirmed either as staying on. So maybe he's exactly the kind of person that Spartans might pick up. Just putting a rumour out there. But
I'll ask him tonight.
I don't think they'll be as high in the table as they were this year, just as a very, very early prediction. But they're not going to drop off at the same time. So as much as other teams are getting involved in a bit of an arms race at the top, there's a lot to be said for consistency, and that's exactly what Strollers are going for.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get into... We had sort of Kelty last week. We did speak a lot about Kelty. I don't know if you listened, Derek, but Obviously, they had their sort of flurry of signings, if you will. A lot of talking points with who's on what wage and stuff.
Yeah, I noticed the two years went off and did a podcast the 1 week out to get all the interesting.
So another club who have made interesting signings. Do you want to take us through Shire, Derek?
Yeah, definitely. So basically, when it comes to Shire, like looking at the season in review first of all, end of August, start of September, they parted company with John Sludden, and at that point, things were looking pretty bleak, to be honest. They were in the bottom half. They weren't picking up many points, so we're going nowhere. The players were beginning to act out a bit, and it was just a bad atmosphere around. They put Delure and Andy Rogers in charge. Dressing room suddenly back right behind them, United. They did fantastically well after a pretty difficult start as well, when they tried to put their own ideas and work out exactly what they wanted for the club going forward. When they got over that bridge and they knew this is what we're about, this is how we play, the results came. And they had some great form into the end of the year, culminating in the run to the Lowland League Cup final, which they could have easily taken
on a different day.
Let's be honest, the way that the game went against BSC. But the fact that they finished on such a strong note with the boys that they had together, it wasn't a squad they built, it was a squad that they were part of and then took over. And then you look at some of these names they've brought in. So you've got Bobby Barr in for Dumbarton, who is a fantastic signing, great wee player. Nicky Lowe, ex-Aberdeen, who's got plenty of league experience. Dishington, who we spoke about already with Jamie. Eddie Malone, who's got bags and bags of experience, a left back. Can only be a good thing for being a mentor in there for some of those defenders. And the one that will go under the radar that not a lot of people will remember is Shaun Brown for the Cumbernauld Colts. He's just a goal scorer, out and out goal getter. And given that Ross Allam's moved on and Shaun Brown's came in to replace him, that's a massive signing for Shire. Any team in this league, including Kelty, would be delighted to have him on the books. So, yeah, and they've also teased that there's going to be more signing announcements over the next week, which is interesting. So they're clearly not finished yet, but not just in the guys they've brought in. They've kept Jamie Barclay, who's one of the most solid keepers in the league. They obviously have kept on Dell and Andy, who are both going to be registered as players. Andy's still got it, so don't expect to see him drop out the first team easy. You know what kind of personality he is, he'll want to play every week. But yeah, they've kept Graham McGregor on, Andy Grant at the back, Connor Green, so they've got that core, really impressive core of the squad still there. It's getting so hard to predict where these teams are going to go, but Shire have got everything in place, assuming more guys are coming in as well, to go ahead and challenge for this league. They've
been messaging us a lot. We're quite happy. We've got another squad announcement, but in fairness, like the guys they've announced so far, they'll be right up there in my estimation. But yeah, we've talked about obviously the previous manager leaving, end August, start of September. I can't remember if I spoke to Dale or Andy about this. I think it was off the record. I don't think it was during the recording that I remember anyway. But obviously, I think John had released a few players, and certainly Dale and Andy obviously, noticed and they brought some of the players back. So it was a bit of a strange one, the club releasing a few players and then a week later they're back at Shire. I think we might have talked about it in the podcast way back in the day, Derek.
Yeah, I think we did at the time. Because he didn't have the biggest squad in the world at that point. They were still releasing a few boys. It was weird.
Yep. But yeah, Dale did comment to have Bobby join again shows the desire the club have to build a title-winning side for next year. Bobby brings years of experience and knows what winning leagues is all about. I did see I think Bill had a bit. I can't remember if it was in the paper or social media, but I noticed Bill Sharp, obviously the Shire chairman, mentioned that they're just going to go for it, and there is a feel good factor about Shire, which Dale and Andy have helped create. But I think they're definitely going for it this year, and I did message Dale the other day, couple of, well done on the guys you brought in. Jamie Dishington was a bit of a shock to me, but we have to talk about Spartans. The statement that they released was fantastic, wishing Jamie all the best, but there was a bit of banter, Kerr Allen with the snake emojis, and Micto had the best video ever. There was a picture of Jamie Dishington in the dressing room or whatever, and I think the words were was it traitor? I think he called him or something, Judas or something. So, but no, I think obviously just a bit of fun and banter. But I wouldn't want to be Jamie Dishington going back to Ainsley Park next season anyway.
Well, bear in mind, Spartans are owed a bit of a fee for him as well, because they've developed him. They'll get a development fee of some sort, so we'll see what that comes out to as well.
Yep. Any thoughts, Shaun?
No, I think you have summed it up pretty well. I think Shire have been fantastic to watch this season, and they're another team that they're along with probably 6 or 7 teams that we'll be expecting to see at the top of the top end of the league next year. So really looking forward to it. But no, I think he's covered it off quite well. Those are some fantastic signings, and I think you're right about forgetting about Shaun Brown a little bit. I think he'll do really well at Shire as well next year. So
we're going towards the end. Obviously, we're going to do the rest of the Lowland League teams obviously next week. Sort of drag this out a wee bit longer when there's no football on, but let's have a wee chat. Obviously you weren't on the last podcast. We'll have a wee sort of just a small chat about the managers in and outs. Obviously Ian Little was confirmed to be the man in charge of Berwick Rangers next season. Good or bad? Guys, any thoughts?
I'll reserve judgment. It's a very, very tough job he's going into.
Absolutely. I think when we spoke about it, I think I said to you guys that I quite fond of Ian Little, and I liked, despite the didn't get a lot of win-losses with Whitehill or a good ratio, it was still quite good to watch how he managed that team, and he's been at Berwick before, both as a player and a manager, and I think that's going to bode well for him. After we had a discussion and we had a bit of mixed reviews, I stuck a poll up on Facebook. I don't know if either of you saw that.
I voted, but I'll not tell you which way I voted.
I did. Well, one of the benefits to when you're on the page is you can see who people vote for. So I was kind of curious to who was voting each way. As far as Berwick fans and also fans outside the league, it was obviously more favourable for Ian Little, but given that it's Berwick managers and Berwick fans are going to be clicking on it, and then maybe neutral fans are going to try and kick up a little bit, or maybe they just didn't agree with it. But for having a look at Berwick over the last wee while, I think he'll be quite popular there, but I do think Berwick are very much, they like their local guys, and that's where it maybe would play against them a little bit. They're wanting local players and local everything in that team, so I don't know, I think I was a little bit more pleased with the signing maybe than some other people, but I don't know, I quite liked them. I got to watch Whitehill 3 or 4 times last year, and I still liked the way, I still thought they played quite competitive, they couldn't get the goals in the end.
Yep, it will be interesting. You obviously mentioned it, Shaun, but he's been at Berwick before and he has been, successful and stuff. But I do have reservations with I'll say what went on with Whitehill. Obviously, we spoke about it, Derek, with Scott Lucas and things like that. So it's a different atmosphere, I guess. Certainly, he's going to a team that he knows. In fairness, I think a better team as well. So it's going to be interesting. But I think there's probably a lot of people look in and say, well, Ian Little's got the job. We played him, with Whitehill. I think that could be one that's, that people look and he's maybe not going to get the respect he deserves because he was spell at Whitehill. I think other clubs will look at that and be like, all right, okay, we can go out and beat Berwick because they're not going to be competitive. But that's strictly based on what happened at Whitehill. But that's just what I think. But that's what's interesting about next season. We don't know until we see what happens.
Yeah, the other issue Berwick are going to have going into next season, to the best of my knowledge, I've only confirmed 4 re-signings in that squad. So as things stand just now, they've got 4 of their boys contracted up again. One or two names that you might recognise: Darryl Healy, who's been in this league before with Selkirk. But it's all quite young boys. You've got Mackleduff, the defender, Jack Cook's a defender. These are all 21, 22-year-olds. And Grant Rose, who's just an 18-year-old lad up front. So surely the big issue they're going to have is the recruitment, because traditionally Berwick basically were recruiting guys for the Edinburgh area. If they keep going that way, you've now got Spartans, you've got Strollers, you've got Kelty, and you're in the same ballpark as them. You can't say, oh, we're league football anymore. So if they're going to focus down in their local area, like Shaun's saying that obviously they like to do with the gaffers and so on, you've already got established teams down there with the likes of Gala, and obviously Vale of Leith and so on. So it might not be surprising to see them start cherry picking, if possible, for other teams in the area. It'll be really interesting to see how they go ahead and build a squad. It looks like they really need to do some business quickly, though, given that they're in the Betfred Cup group stages as well.
Yep. Me and Shaun spoke about it last week, but since you mentioned it, obviously Neil Hastings at Gallifreydine Rovers. Have you got an opinion on that, Derek? Obviously, everything that's happened with Dean Shanks, I went on a bit of a rant.
Yeah.
I noticed that there was, a lot of the committee members. I don't know completely what's going on at Gala, but a lot of committee members have left. They've changed quite a lot from what I've heard. I've not really spoken to anyone at Gala, but certainly a wee bit worrying that they've not really announced too much. I have heard that there's a lot of Darren Smith left, for example, the captain. Worrying times for Gala. What's your general opinion, Derek?
I'll wait and see. I'll be honest, I don't know enough about what's been going on to make a proper judgment on it at this point. It's similar to Berwick, because obviously they've had board ins and outs this week as well, and it's been all over the shop. But it seemed, just from a kind of naive outside standpoint, it seemed like Dean had built up a very, very good squad and a really good news story down there. For him to go was surprising enough, but with all this kind of confusion, and I hope they're not hamstringing themselves, to be honest, because it seems like they had a good thing going. So we'll kind of reserve judgment for now and give them the summer, see what happens with the squad. But yeah, it's concerning, certainly. So we'll see what happens ultimately.
Well, whether it'll be in the Lowland League or not, Craig Meikle at Whitehill Welfare, he's taken over, obviously. Player manager, I think there's a few of them. Obviously, I think Ainsley Hunter's moved into a player manager role. I did update their wiki recently, so they've brought in a few boys there, I think, that can do well, either Lowland League or East of Scotland. They've kept a few of the young guys on as well, so Kev Keane was obviously decent. I know we'll talk about it in the next week, obviously, but I think Whitehill will be alright, depending on what league they're going to be in. All the best to Craig at Whitehill, because we still don't know what league they're going to be in, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I said earlier on they'd made some interesting additions, and not just in the senior squad. They're really building up their under-20s, I've noticed as well, which is good to see. They've put Kenny Aitchison in charge there, who had a very brief stint as Selkirk's manager, the young lad, and good luck to him, because I think he's got all the potential in the world to be a really decent gaffer, but he's still young. He needs the experience, obviously. But yeah, the one thing you would say, if you look at Whitehill's additions, there's a lot of East of Scotland players in there. So if they are going down to the East of Scotland Premier, it's guys that know what they're doing. So they're tooling up ready for that challenge if it comes. That they already know the teams they're up against, the level of football. They've made a lot of early signings, so they're going to be a wee bit better prepared, I think, than they were this time round. And good luck to them all.
The biggest one for me, I think, maybe I do like strollers. I know they don't think I do. Our church certainly does, but Stephen Froudy was he'll be a goal scorer for them, and I think that's what they were missing last season in the Lowland League, an out and out goal scorer, I think, and he'll definitely get the goals for them.
It was a quite surprising one, that I thought, but it was a very good sign.
Yep, definitely. One that's probably went under the radar, I apologise, I've not mentioned it, or I don't remember mentioning it, but obviously Darren Kerr left Dalbeattie by mutual consent.
Yeah.
He was replaced by Richie Maxwell. Obviously we know Richie he's enjoyed a highly successful spell as a player at Islecroft. I don't know if he's player manager or what's going to be going on there, but we obviously wish Darren Kerr all the best as well. I think it's got a tough job, Dalbeattie, one of the tougher ones in the Lowland League, I think. So we really hope that Richie can do his best and obviously try and get Dalbeattie going. But again, it's going to be tough. I think just the location where they are in the Lowland League. We talk about smaller squads like Vale leaving Dalbeattie. I think with a smaller squad, they don't really have any youth to depend on. Tough job, but we obviously wish Richie all the best, and Darren Kerr as well, that's left the club. Right, there's not many fixtures this week, sorry, guys. We'll give the under-20s a bit of a shout. Obviously, Spartans, they beat Lothian Thistle Hutch Vale in the under-20 League Cup final. Challenge Cup final, Lothian Thistle Hutch Vale lost last week to Kelty, and on Monday Spartans have a chance to win the Knockout Cup final, the under-20s ones, against Bonnyton. But next Thursday for me is a big one, the under-20 league playoff between Conference A champions Kelty and Conference B champions Spartans. Myself and you, Shaun, have saw a lot of Kelty, obviously under 20s. They're missing a few guys like Jordan Elliott, who I think is a fantastic player. His work rate is brilliant. I noticed Davy Wilson, who was at Whitehill. I don't know where he's going next season, but the old friend in between us thing, because I praised him. But that's going to be a cracking game. I don't think I've ever mentioned it, but Muzz Hand, Spartans messaged me one time saying, why did you give Kelty the development team of the season, and he basically said, we'll see who wins more trophies at the end of the season. So got a bit of pride resting on that game, but it's going to be a cracker. The guys that Spartans have, guys like Cameron Dawson, Murray Hand, Nicky Reid, the guys we mentioned before, and then Kelty, obviously Kieran Macaulay, Ross Much, who's back from injury, had a run in the senior team. Owen Andrew, Liam Kelly. I could mention the whole squad for Kelty because I've seen the guys so much, but that's going to be a cracker, I think.
No, absolutely. That's a game that I'll be looking to get along to. Under 20s, just looking at under 20s, those two have been the standout teams this season, so I think it's going to be an exciting game to watch them going head to head. And although under 20s is one thing and the men's team is a different thing, as somebody who obviously, like yourself, follows Kelty quite a lot, Kelty haven't had the best of luck against Spartans this season, so it's going to be good to go and watch and see if the under 20s team can do what, I hate saying it, but the men's team couldn't do this season and get the win over Spartans.
Yeah, like you say, both of those have been the standout under 20 teams this year, so it's set up for a cracking finale.
I like I think we've briefly talked about it, guys, but next season's going to be interesting for the under 20s. We're going to have lots more teams, civil service coming in, Pennycook. I hope there's going to be enough boys to make these teams, but it just means that everyone will be playing. But the under 20s has been fantastic. There's some games, especially like yourself, Shaun, the Hill of Beef games that Kelty were playing, obviously the Derby, 200, 300 people turning up to an under 20s game. And I think I tweeted out, I've enjoyed the under 20s. I've lost count of how many games I went to this season. But the under 20s games have just been as good as some of the senior fixtures, if you will. But yeah, not a lot of football to talk about. Coming on. What are you guys going to be up to in your weekends now that there's no football?
Well, I think I'll still have football going because a wee shout out to ex-Lowland League manager Shelley Kerr taking Scotland to the World Cup.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I went to Scotland, Jamaica with a few of the great and the good of Scottish football Twitter last week. Really enjoyed it. our girls played really well. I've got to say, I was very impressed with the standard. Unlike many men's games that I've seen this year, there was very rarely an errant first touch, which for a guy like me was mind blown, to be honest, in a big pitch like that. But no, obviously we're a week away from that now, and it's not the easy start we've got with England straight up. So we'll see how that goes. But fingers crossed, the girls prove that they're deserving to be there, and we'll see how far they can get. If they get through the group stages, it'll be a great success.
Absolutely. I was hoping to go. Obviously, I couldn't make it. Neither could Kev. But it sounded like he's had a smashing day. We'll probably get more of them sort of days out next season as well. Myself, I think I'm spending a lot of time with the family and stuff. I had makeup on the other day. It was my son that was putting on, but it was really, his mum that it was her choice to put on me. So yeah, I was looking beautiful though.
This is an interesting way to tell us what you do in your weekends, Chris.
The bell of the ball on a Saturday night. You have to get dolled up. What about you, Shaun?
Well, a bit of a mix of both, to be honest. I'm looking forward to watching the World Cup as well, and I suppose taking advantage of a few Saturdays and a few weekends with the family where I've not got football to go to be honest. And I'm still looking forward to seeing the lead up to the new season. I know there's a lot to talk about how quiet the break is, or how there isn't games to talk about, but there's still plenty to talk about. I think this will end up being one of our longer podcasts as well. So there's definitely still plenty to talk about. But no, just hopefully we get some good weather, because it's not been the greatest so far, and get out a wee bit with the family, and World Cup should be cracking too.
And the Betfred Cup's going to be here before we know it, with Bonnyrigg and also with Kilbride in it. So make the most of a few weeks, because we'll be right back to it soon enough.
Absolutely, and obviously pre-season's only a month away as well. So, but we'll keep everyone updated with. I think we might get a 2 or 3 week break, guys. I'm not sure. But obviously a lot of the lads on holidays and stuff. But work's still getting done. We'll be back next week with probably more transfer news. There's probably still changes or signings to be confirmed and stuff. But also we'll do a review of the rest of the teams in the league. Obviously want to thank everyone for their support. The guys that listen in, the players, the managers, everyone that gets involved, the league, George Fraser, and we'll see you next week for the review of the other teams in the Lowland League.
See you later.
Catch you in.